With our mold-based design fully in our file, now we need to think about some other options we may need to add into our design. In this case, we're going to take a look at inserting some injector pins. So from my Mold Assembly tab, I can get into my injector pin setting. What this will allow me to do is work throughout my design to set locations for the injector pins themselves. I may want to select the type of ejector pin I'd like to work with. In this case, a 3mm, with an overall length of 160 millimeters. I need to select locations for my ejector pins. In this case, I'm going to select 6 of them. With those selected, I can take a look at my overall coordinates for each injector pin. In this case, I may want to make some slight changes. After making the adjustments to my parameters for nice even spacing, I'm going to select my Clearance tab to look at any other information I may want to add into my design. 7, 3.6, and 3.4 are the values I'd like to see in my clearance areas. Once finished with this, I can apply this to my design and have Inventor model in my ejector pins for me. With my injector pins in the model now, we can zoom in and take a little closer look. We can see that the 6 injector pins have indeed been placed into my model. Next, we're going to go ahead and create a spur bushing and a locating ring. In this case, again, working from left to right, we can get into our Mold Assembly tab and select our spur bushing. From the list, we can go ahead and select our type that we'd like to work with. In this case, again, multiple suppliers of this information exist inside of Autodesk Inventor 2010 tooling. In this case, again, working from our Mold Assembly tab, we're going to go ahead and create a spur bushing and a locating ring. We'll go ahead and make the selection of our spur bushing to start with. In this case, we can choose a different type of bushing we may want to utilize inside of Inventor. By making that selection, we can choose and change information however we see fit. With making some slight changes to this information, we can go through and go ahead and finalize our design. Now we must select the point for this location. And once that point is selected, we'll go ahead and hit OK to the command. With the spur bushing presented inside of our information, we can go ahead and now go and add in the locating ring. The locating ring works much like our spur bushing did. Again, we need to select the type of locating ring we'd like to use for this design, first by selecting the supplier. We'll select DME and then, of course, the type. I will change the offset value for this locating ring and select OK. With our locating ring now applied to our design, we can move on to creating our cooling channels. On our Mold Layout tab, we'll want to take a look at the cooling channel itself. In this case, we're going to need to take a look at our assembly and select on our view cube the right hand side. Now we need to place our cooling channels by first selecting the face or area we would like our cooling channels to work from, and in this case it will work in a very linear fashion. Once we have our initial input into our design, we can change the spacing accordingly. By going through and achieving the spacing for all 4 cooling tubes, we'll be able to satisfy our design requirements. We will repeat the necessary steps possible to add 3 more cooling channels. Now that we have our cooling channels into our design, we need to add the necessary fittings on the ends of them. So we'll go ahead and go to our Mold Assembly tab, select our cooling component functionality, and simply select a cylindrical face on our cooling channel to apply the necessary components. I'm going to end up doing this for all 8 components. Now we've completed adding all of our cooling components as needed through each cooling channel. So now let's move on to more of a serious side. Time to document our design. In our Mold Assembly tab, we have our 2D Drawing tab that's available. With this selected, this gives us the ability to filter our design through multiple filters that are available, and click and choose what drawings we may want created with inside of our design. On top of that, what template files we may want to work with inside of our design environment. So I'll make that selection also for each drawing to be created. From here, we have the ability to choose the sheet size options for our given designs. So in this case, we might want to select sheet size, automatic layout, A1 auto. And for our individual drawings themselves, we may choose a different layout entirely. In this case, we may want A1 6 views for each of them. With that information selected, we simply hit OK and allow Inventor to generate our drawings automatically for us. As we can see, Inventor's finished up creating our drawings for us of our mold design. We can see it's done a pretty good job of documenting our mold base and our mold cavities themselves with a bill of material and ballooning at the same time. On the individual drawings, we may notice, again, it's laid out our views as we would like them to be from our template file, plus additional information provided alongside our design. That wraps up Chapter 1, Working with Mold Workflow.